Finally, DxO has its own denoising engine for Fuji X-Trans sensor. Or has it? Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business after the disclaimer. PureRAW5 was sent to me from DxO, and they don't have anything to do with the video, so they don't know that I'm making this video, nor have they seen it before. And as always, all the things that I say in this video are based on me using the software for a little while. It was introduced back a few weeks ago, a month ago. I don't exactly, to be honest, remember when it was. But I was also beta testing the PureRAW5 X-Trans denoising engine. So I've used it for quite a few times already. And I do have affiliate links in the description, so if you're interested in getting that software and using those links, you won't pay any extra, but you support my free content, and it's much appreciated because, you know, making this free content every week is a lot of work. So thank you very much if you're using those. But no pressure. If you don't need it, don't get it. There are other ways to support my channel, like watching, liking, subscribing, and buying me some coffee. But let's get into the business and start talking about what's new in PureRAW5. And of course the new DeepPRIME XD3 beta is the new thing, but I will talk about that and show some examples later in this video. But what else is new? One of the biggest things is local adjustments. Now you can locally mask areas where you can apply the noise reduction and sharpening and all that. And I think this is a great new addition to DxO's already very good software. I think local adjustment has been something that we've been waiting for quite a long time. And as I said, there's a new noise reduction engine for X-Trans sensors. There's also a new for all the other cameras out there, and that is called DeepPRIME 3. And I will show some examples of that too in the video, but I will be using the X-Trans sensor and showing the comparison with that. And also what I found when I was using this is that the Lightroom integration works a lot better and smoother than it used to be. There are no hiccups or anything. It has been working perfectly with the way I'm using DxO software as a plugin. Of course, it works as a standalone software, and it also works from inside the Finder in at least in Mac operating systems. But as I said, all my examples are how I use it with Lightroom, because that's my preferred workflow. What is your workflow with DxO software? And there are also some minor tweaks in the user interface. But all in all, it is a very capable software. If you know how well DxO PureRAW4, for example, has been performing, well, I can tell you that this one is better. As you will see from my examples, XD3 beta engine works quite well. So why it is still beta? Well, first of all, it does not support the latest X-Trans sensors, the 5th generation sensors. So if you have that, then sorry, DxO PureRAW5 does not support your camera yet, but they promised that it will be in the near future. When that happens, we don't know. So that's why it is still in beta. And they say that it's not as good as they would like it to be, and that's why it's beta. And DxO wants some feedback from the users. So if you are using this, be free to send some feedback to DxO, because that will help it to make it better. If you find something that's not working the way it should, or you don't like, then let them know. And let's look at some examples. Even though I'm not that allergic to noise, I still have a very good use for denoising. I will get into what I use it for in most cases a bit later in the video. So after the examples of the normal use, I will tell you how I use it. But let's start with the first example. I photographed this Chewbacca figure in a lobby of a movie theater. It is very purely lit place, and you can see the light is not very good. And as you see, here is the original image. Of course, I used very high ISO because I wanted to see how it denoises the images. Of course, it will enhance the image in other ways too, because it uses the DxO lens modules that there are over 100,000 of different modules for different lens camera combinations. So it is very well thought of process what they do. They photograph with every camera and lens, and then they make the modules for that particular combination. And I think that's the best way. So it's no guesswork. It's actual data that they get from the camera and the lens. So it is, in my opinion, the best enhancement that you can get for your images. But what about the noise? And here you can see the original and the denoised version side by side. And as you can see how much better the denoised version is. The details are there and it's also a lot sharper. DxO PureRAW does not only do denoising, it also enhances the image. I think XD3 Beta preserved the detail very well. And I also made a comparison with the new engine XD3 using the same image. And looking them side by side, I think XD3 Beta is slightly better for X-Trans sensors. And if you have a Fuji X-Trans sensor camera and shooting high ISO, using this XD3 Beta will get you better results than XD3. Or DeepPRIME 3, I think it's called. So use that dedicated denoising engine for Fuji X-Trans sensors. You can choose which one you use from the software. And then one thing that denoising sometimes does, it affects the colors. Let's see how well it preserves the colors. I photographed this mural. It has colors and details. The color shift is not big. There is a slight shift that does not matter to me that much. The colors are slightly brighter after DxO treatment. We can see the difference from the histograms. On this image, the area where there are no details looks slightly plasticky, so it's not that bad, but it looks a bit unnatural. I also made some images that I usually make because I think every gear software should be tested the way you photograph. So that's why I photographed the stuff that I would normally photograph, even though if I wasn't making this test or this review of DxO PureRAW5. In this photograph shot with ISO 6400, the results are very good. The details are there and the colors are slightly brighter and cleaner. And I will upload all these images into PureRAW for you to see for yourself because, of course, video compression might give some or not so good results, but I will have the images so that you can take a look how they look. And I will have a link in the description to PureRAW in the description of this video. So take a look and see for yourself how good DxO PureRAW5 is. And one important thing when photographing with high ISO is to photograph so that you expose to the right. I think that's the best way to get the noise less visible. The brighter the image is, the less visible the noise is, and then you can of course make it darker after you have made the denoised or denoised the image. You get the best results that way. So exposure to the right, denoising, and then edit the image. That's the best workflow. That's what I've found out. If the image is underexposed, then of course there will be more visible noise, so that it's going to be a little bit harder to get rid of that noise, or, well, you don't see it that much if the image is brighter. So here is an example of underexposed image. This image is underexposed by a stop and a half, so not that much. But you can clearly see that it is underexposed. The histogram shows it even better. It was shot using ISO 12800. And when you increase the exposure, the noise becomes more visible. And after the denoising and increasing the exposure, the image looks a lot better. And here are the photographs side by side. What about ISO 25600? And here's the original. It is quite okay, but after denoising with DxO PureRAW5 it looks even better. And here are the photographs side by side. You can see that it works really well, so that high ISO is usable when properly exposed, and using the DxO PureRAW5 I can use that high ISO with XS20, which is quite remarkable because, of course, it's an APS-C sensor, so I think the results are remarkable. Of course, it's not perfect. Some of the parts might look a little plasticky, but adjusting the settings to your likings will give you the best results, so totally usable in my opinion. And so far, all the images has been out of the camera, and here are the images the way I would edit them. So let's look at those before I get into the main usage of DxO PureRAW5 that I use it for. I hope you enjoy the images, and now to the thing that I use it for most, and I use it for increasing the dynamic range. Well, let's say that technically it's not the same thing, but it will reveal a lots and lots of details from the darkest part of the image, from the shadows. First I make the denoising using DxO PureRAW5 as a plugin, then I come back to Lightroom and then I can lift up the shadows. And in particular in this image, what I did was I masked the bag in the front here and then raised the exposure in that. And as you can see, the difference with the original without denoising and with denoising, the results are astonishingly better. So this is the best way, in my opinion, to use this software, unless you want to use it just for general denoising. What I use it is denoising and then lifting up the shadows, and I will have really nice and clean shadows. Of course, don't overdo it and don't lift the shadows too much so that the image will be or will look unnatural. Just slight lift up the shadows will give you a really natural looking good results, and basically without excessive noise, even with high ISO images. All in all, I think DxO has done a very good job again, and what I really think is that they should get the 5th generation version out quickly, because you know there are lots and lots of cameras out there that has that sensor, so I hope DxO can deliver as soon as possible. But I've heard that it's not a very easy task, and that's why it has been not released yet. But if you have the older version of the sensor, 4th generation and older, I think this will give you a lot of benefit and it will make your photographs look better. Of course, it's still the same photograph, but it might look better if you are a bit allergic to noise. And in some images, there is a point of making the denoising. Not all, but quite a few images and genres where denoising is the real thing to do. And as I said, there will be a link to the software. It's an affiliate link, which I explained earlier in the video. And here are some more videos about DxO software. But hey, thanks for watching and bye for now.